The authorities enter the hall. The event begins. Please rise. The Commandant of the Center of Excellence for Stability Police Units, Brigadier General Giuseppe De Magistris, will now deliver his remarks.
Good morning, everyone, distinguished authorities and guests, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and students. It is with great pride that I stand before you today to inaugurate the CoESPU 20th Anniversary Conference on the role of policing in human security, the very center of gravity of the policing job, both in our inland but also overseas. But let me start by thanking and expressing my gratitude to the Carabinieri Deputy Commanding General, Lieutenant General Marco Minicucci, for honoring us with his presence. He will address us to close the conference. General Minicucci, thank you so much for your attention, for your leadership, and for commitment of the values of law and security and international cooperation. These are source of great inspiration for all of us. And then, thanks also go to Brigadier General Giuseppe De Liso, the commanding general of the Legion in Veneto of the Carabinieri. But then I would also like to extend my thanks to the United States Department of State for his unwavering support to our mission through the Global Peace Operation Initiative. Our partnership, which today celebrates 20 years, exemplifies, is the epitome of a shared commitment of two nations to global peace and stability, and demonstrated that we are indeed far stronger together. His Excellency, Mr. Douglas Begning, United States Consul General in Milano, grazie. Your presence today means really a lot to us. Our appreciation also goes to the United Nations Police Division and to the police advisor, Commissioner Faisal Shakar, whose collaboration has been really invaluable, wasn't it? For all the CoESPU family. Indeed, our aim is to enhance the impact of our commitment, and also training, but also education, research, and exercises for global peace and stability. And the partnership with the United Nations Police Division has allowed CoESPU to build a bridge between theory and practice, ensuring our peacekeeping personnel possesses the skills and knowledge necessary to face complex changes, intricate challenges, and the modern-day peace operations. But, of course, nothing we do at CoESPU will be possible without the support of the local community of Vicenza. So I'm particularly pleased to thank local authorities. I see the Prefect of Vicenza, His Excellency Filippo Romano, the Deputy Mayor of the city, Dr. Isabella Sala, but I saw also our brothers in arms from the police forces, the Questore Francesco Zerilli, Giuseppe Moscati, the Commanding Officer of the Carabinieri, Provincial Quarters, and Spear, Giuseppe Bovenzi for the Guardia di Finanza. This is a very meaningful thank to you to express our gratitude. But also a mention goes to both the European Gendarmerie Force Permanent Quarter Commanding Officer, Colonel Paweł Grajek, and the representative of the NATO Stability Policy Center of Excellence, Pavel Djurdjic, Lieutenant Colonel, on behalf of their director. We indeed constitute a team of teams here. In this compound, there is a unique in the world team of teams, the International Stability Policing Hub, CoESPU, EGF, and NATO SPCOE. It's 11 different countries, 11 different perspectives on stability policing in the same compound. We deal with the main 5 international organizations: United Nations, NATO, European Union, African Union, and I also thank Ms. Karen Johnston from the Organization of Security Cooperation in Europe, who will address us shortly afterwards. But also, let me thank those who are following the event online. I know that there have been an awful lot of people following the last 2 days of working groups, and today as well, and the students from all the universities which cooperate with us. There are 19 different universities. Here, my praise goes to the students of Sapienza University Rome, Torino, Padova, and Teramo universities. We are excited about our partnerships and look forward to working together to build advocacy for the rule of law in a new generation, your generation. In fact, and I will repeat myself, everybody is welcome at CoESPU, within the CoESPU team. And we said it last Tuesday, ideas do not hold neither ranks nor degree certificates. Let's brainstorm on our ideas, be disruptive for the good of our societies. And now, as we look forward to a new 20-year era, it is good to reflect on the journey that we have undertaken so far, the challenges we have overcome, and the ambitions that will guide us in the 20 and more and beyond years to come. So before we look forward, with your permission, sir, we'll have just a 2 minutes and 32 seconds video, which will go through the main achievements of the last 20 years. Please. And sir, Gianni Cucci, allow me to thank the incredible team of the CoESPU, not only for the outstanding job they have done over the course of the last 18 months to get to this conference, because it was a long process, and with the support of the Carabinieri headquarters, we got here trying to deliver a meaningful result, but also for what they do every day. It's an incredible team, I would say a dream team as well. So thank you, grazie, ragazzi e ragazze. Yeah. But the video, and I have the goosebumps on this, is not just a video about accomplishment, but also a testament to look forward, leaning backward, only to see what we have done, to find more motivation to push. And this is what we said last Tuesday also with the students. Let's try to make the difference. And so the gratitude goes also to the Arma dei Carabinieri, to the United States Department of State, the Department of Defense, the United Nations, or OSCE, the Office of Rule of Law Security Institution, but the whole Department of Peace Operation will be also delighted to watch a video, 4-minute video from Monsieur Lacroix, the Undersecretary General for Peace Operations in the United Nations. And then you read 16,000 trainees, almost 16,000, 128 countries. It's a great achievement. And I'm proud also to welcome once again the female students of the first course en français we held, because now we can deliver, it's a news, we can deliver courses also in French in the CoESPU. It is unique because we have a portfolio of French, English, and Arabic courses. But I would like to welcome also the community-oriented police course, the first one in French, an all-female course. It is another great achievement of the CoESPU. You know, just to have an idea, the average of police women in police forces worldwide is the 15%, barely 15%. At CoESPU, amongst our trainees, we have more than the 30% of women. In the recent past, we skyrocketed this number. So kudos to the ladies, part of the team in these weeks. Thank you so much. So these are really a true team of teams. So we are marking the 20th anniversary, 2 decades. The center has evolved from what it was in the beginning, the first courses, and now we are a sort of beacon for excellence, a beacon for training, education, exercises, lesson learned, research, all the 4 pillars with the innovation in mind. And in today, ever evolving world, where stability and security are constantly threatened more than challenged by global conflict, technological advantage, shifting geopolitical dynamics, and the rampant disinformation, as we always say. Our work has never been more crucial, and the strength of our partnership speaks volumes about how much is crucial the role of partnership. Our objectives to be masters of our craft, professional, excellent, innovative, and resilient. Relentlessly pursuing our excellence, Joe. Being a part of a center of excellence means pursuing the excellence daily, moment by moment. So let me conclude, with your permission, sir, with a wish. May this 20th anniversary mark another chapter of our relentless pursuit of excellence and bring a renewed dedication to long-term peace and stability and development. We can make the difference. We can influence decision makers with our decision. And I know that all the attendees to the 2-day workshop have done a great job. I know that the deliverables will make somehow the difference. So thank you so much. I'm going to leave to CoESPU.
Dr. Isabella Sala, Deputy Mayor of Vicenza, is taking now the floor.
Dear Lieutenant General Marco Minicucci, Carabinieri Deputy Commander, dear Mr. Douglas Benning, United States Consul in Milano, United Nations Policy Advisor, Commissioner Faisal Shakar, Brigadier Generale Giuseppe De Magistris, CoESPU Commandant and Deputy Commandant, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests from around the world, it is with profound honor and great personal emotion that I welcome you on behalf of the Mayor of the city of Vicenza, Giacomo Possamai, to this most significant occasion, the 20th anniversary of the Center of Excellence for Stability Police Units, the CoESPU. Today, we are not merely commemorating an institutional milestone, we are celebrating a human and professional journey that, over the past 2 decades, has contributed with rigor, passion, and expertise to the global endeavor of building peace. This anniversary is filled with both gratitude and pride, as Vicenza has the privilege to host on its soil an international center of such prestige. This is the living testimony of sustained commitment, inspired by a far-sighted vision and an international vocation that has found in this center a vital point of reference for dialogue and cooperation worldwide among police forces engaged in peace operations. CoESPU is not merely a training institution, it is a crossroads of experiences, cultures, and shared ideals. Here each day, work is carried out in pursuit of something invisible but essential: mutual trust among peoples, confidence in institutions, and the tangible possibility of peaceful coexistence. And these aims are more and more important and necessary nowadays. We all feel it. Our territory has always looked outward with openness and responsibility. Vicenza is a city of history, culture, and memory. We are very proud to belong to a human and heritage. We are a UNESCO town for Palladio, its villas, its palaces, the Olympic Theater, and we are conscious and proud of this. But also, and above all, Vicenza is a city of the future. Every city has to be a city of the future. We feel it, especially for next generation, for present and next generation, that Vicenza, it has to be a nice place to live and to be. And a future, we know, cannot be imagined without a shared commitment to global and lasting peace. A peace that is never a matter of chance, but rather the concrete outcome of work, training, cooperation, and courage. For these reasons, the city of Vicenza feels deeply connected to CoESPU's mission. This is confirmed by 2 gold medals for military valor awarded to the city. Only Rome has the same honor. One for the courage and sacrifice shown by the citizens between May and June 1848, and the other for the resistance and struggle for freedom during the Second World War. These honors speak of pain, dignity, and rebirth, and they remind us today, symbolically, that peace is never a starting point, but a daily achievement requiring dedication, steadfastness, and humanity. Vicenza is therefore proud to host on its territory such a prestigious institution, one that embodies professionalism, excellence, and a spirit of service. An institution that day by day gives life to those universal values of legality, respect, cooperation, and justice that must form the foundation of peaceful coexistence among people. On behalf of the entire Vicenza communities, I wish to express my deep gratitude to all those who, over the past 20 years, have built and nurtured this center, the military and civilian personnel, the instructors, the international mission leaders, and all the partners who have shared the extraordinary venture with passion and competence. May this anniversary also mark a new beginning, an opportunity to renew our common commitment to a world which we are contributing to make more just, more secure, and above all, more human. Once again, welcome to Vicenza. This is your home. We are happy to share your feast, your festa, your celebration, and we'll make our best together to make the difference in this world.
His Excellency Dr. Filippo Romano, Prefect of Vicenza, takes the floor.
Dear Lieutenant General Marco Minicucci, Carabinieri Deputy Commander, dear Mr. Douglas Benning, United States Consul in Milan, Commissioner Faisal Shakar, Brigadier General Giuseppe De Magistris, CoESPU Commandant, and Colonel Bruhl, Deputy Commander, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am very proud today to take the floor on this highly significant occasion, marking the 20th anniversary of the CoESPU Foundation. As the government representative in this province, I am honored to pay tribute for the extraordinary work carried out by the Carabinieri, both in Italy and around the world. This is not just an anniversary to be celebrated. It is more a path marked by commitment, sacrifice, and vision. Today, CoESPU stands as one of the highest expressions of the Carabinieri international engagement, not merely a center for training, education, and research, but more, a living laboratory of peace, security, and cooperation about nations. In an era marked by global crisis and deep social fractures, under the auspice of United Nations or European nations or NATO or other international coalitions of willing states or through bilateral cooperation, the Carabinieri play a crucial role, also broad to uphold law and order, as well as human rights. Indeed, recognizing the dignity of people, of their stories, of their identities, is not a mere formality. It is the first step towards peace, not a sign of weakness, but the strength of those who know how to listen before acting. It is on this foundation that true security is built, not reserved for the few, but shared, fair, and genuinely universal. Security is not for rich people, for the privileged part of the population. Security is overall for the weakest and poorest part of the population that more need security and protection. As a prefect, I perfectly know this concept, and I'm deeply committed to these themes, which are so concrete and close to people's lives and well-being. It is protecting the most vulnerable, preventing crime, promoting social cohesion. This is our daily mission, both in Italy and overseas. And this is what CoESPU addresses on a global scale. In fact, CoESPU trains stability police units capable of operating in the most difficult environment by fostering research and lessons learned on stability policing, taking stock of the Carabinieri's successful experiences, thanks to effectiveness and competence, with a very strong and sensitive community-oriented approach. And so today, from this city that proudly hosts CoESPU since 2004, I want to express my heartfelt heartfelt, gratitude. Gratitude to those who believed in this project, to those who taught, and to those who learned, as well as to those who planted just a seed of peace here, which has borne fruit in distant lands. Let me get to a close with a special toast for the men and women of the Arma dei Carabinieri. They, you, together with the colleagues of other police forces, you are the human face of the state. In every little village of this our Italy, also in all the world, both in Italy and abroad. You have a seed of peace to boldly go where few people has gone before, towards a world of peace and security. I wish you a happy 20th anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you. U.S. Department of Defense Representative, CoESPU Deputy Commandant, Colonel Joseph Brule, U.S. Army, will now deliver his address. Please, sir.
General Minicucci, Consular General Benning, Commissioner Shakar. Good morning, distinguished authorities and guests. I'm humbled to try to add just a few words to the meaningful and powerful thoughts, Madam Deputy Mayor Prefetto, of what's been shared before. So to do that, I would like maybe to begin with just a personal story. Because when I was a boy, I was a very stubborn kid. I always wanted to do things my own way. I wanted to do them on my own, and I did not want to involve anybody else in the projects that I undertook as a child. And over the years, my mother and father tried almost everything they could to change this about me. But nothing they did would work to break this stubborn streak in their middle son. And so they turned to help from my grandfather. And my grandfather was a wise and a patient man. He was a carpenter who spent his whole life patiently turning hunks of wood into beautiful pieces of furniture. And one day, when I was about 10 years old, I remember standing in the workshop of my grandfather, surrounded by piles of sawdust and pieces of furniture. My grandfather put his hand gently on my shoulder, and he pointed to a series of black and white photos that were pinned above his workbench. And they were photos of my grandfather when he was a boy working in that same shop with my great-grandfather. They were photos of my dad when he was a boy working in that same workshop with my grandfather. There were photos of my uncles and my cousins throughout the years working in that shop. And as I stared up at these pictures of my family, one thing became very clear. As they stood shoulder to shoulder, holding heavy tools in their hands, their faces were beaming with pride. Pride in their work and pride in each other. It was in that moment, my grandfather's hand resting now firmly on my shoulder, that he told me something that would change my life. He looked down at me and he said, "Joseph, anything in life worth doing is better done with others. You'll get more work done, you'll be better for it, and so will they." As I tell that story, I wish my grandfather could be here with me today. Looking at this audience, the distinguished guests that we have in the front row and on this dais, gathering here to celebrate the 20 years of legacy of the Center of Excellence for stability police units. And I wish he was here because he would see that he was right. Anything in life worth doing is better done with others. That's the idea that brought the United States and Italy, that brought the United States Army and the Arma dei Carabinieri together for the first time 20 years ago. And it's the idea that animates everything that the Center of Excellence for Stability Police Units does every day. Increasing global capacity for stability policing was then and is now essential to establishing and preserving security around the world. This simple idea is why the United States, through the Department of State and the Global Peace Operations Initiative, why the United States Army, the Arma dei Carabinieri, the United Nations, the province of Vicenza, the city of Vicenza, NATO, our European allies, and everyone gathered in this room is here to chart a path to the future. Everything worth doing in life is better done with others. And to be frank, I think we are all better for it. The United States Army, the United States military is better for this partnership. I say this as a proud American Army officer. There's no better fighting force in the world than the United States military. But despite the hundreds of billions of dollars we spend, our tanks, our airplanes, our missiles, our satellites, our unmanned aerial vehicles, for all of the great capacity and capability of the United States military, there's one thing we don't have, and it's anything like the Arma dei Carabinieri. Despite our vast arsenal, we don't have a force like the Carabinieri. You can go where we can't go. You can do things we can't do. And you can train forces we can't train. So the partnership we have with the Arma dei Carabinieri, the partnership we have with CoESPU, makes the United States a better ally and partner. And I would hope that Italy and the Arma dei Carabinieri are better for this partnership. Through CoESPU, the Carabinieri has been able to cement its role as a global leader in stability policing. But most importantly, I think the world is better for it. Because of our shared commitment, today, in some crowded city square, in some hidden corner of the globe, there's a police officer. And she's standing her post, protecting her community. And as she does that, she's calm and she's confident because of the training she received here at the Center of Excellence for Stability Police Unit. She's better on post because of the partnership that's represented in this room. But she's not alone. All around the world, in 128 countries today, there are nearly 16,000 stability police officers just like her, better able to do their job, better able to protect their community, and better to preserve the peace that we all desire. Our work here is worth doing. For 20 years, we've gotten much farther together than we ever would have alone. So it is my hope that as we gather in this room to celebrate this anniversary, we are able to gather over and over again in the years to come to reinforce our shared commitment to the vital work of stability policing around the world. Because if we do, I can guarantee you that my grandfather was and will be right. We'll get more done and we'll all be better for it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Carrie Johnston, Special Representative and Coordinator for Combating Trafficking in Human Beings, Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, will now take the floor. Please, ma'am.
Good morning, Your Excellencies, dear ladies and gentlemen, and partners. While I am a career State Department employee, I am here and very proud to represent the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe in extending our deep and heartfelt congratulations to CoESPU and the Carabinieri on this important anniversary and this event. And also my thanks for inviting me to speak and to join in the celebration. This is an impressive milestone, and we've heard about some of the important results and achievements and impact of the partnerships and the training that comes out of CoESPU. I'm going to give you a little slice of a different aspect of some of the results and tangible impacts around the world from the partnership that the OSCE has with the Center of Excellence, for which we are deeply grateful. From theory to practice has been a theme today, and I think in the partnership that the OSCE and CoESPU has, we are really helping achieve tangible results to increase security and protect the most vulnerable. CoESPU's contributions to the OSCE's efforts in conducting simulation-based training exercises have been instrumental since the project's inception in 2016 to help combat human trafficking and protect victims. Let me give you a brief example of these exercises, which have been a powerful tool that support OSCE participating states, its members, and partner countries in enhancing their national efforts to identify victims of human trafficking and prosecute traffickers through the promotion of multi-stakeholder and transnational collaboration, precisely the core work of CoESPU here. These trainings were developed by my office in response to the migration and refugee crisis that emerged in 2015 in Europe, with many countries like Italy being deeply affected. The overall goal of this project was to provide OSCE participating states with a tool to strengthen their criminal justice response to human trafficking along migration routes and to improve the identification of trafficking victims and cases within highly complex mixed migration flows. They bring together a cross-section of governmental authorities and civil society that all have a role to play in combating human trafficking and identifying and protecting victims through multi-day role-play simulation exercises where they can hone and practice their skills. Over the years, the simulation-based exercises have evolved into a training that is relevant far beyond the migration context, while preserving the methodology developed here in Vicenza that has proven very effective. We've successfully adapted the simulations to emerging trends and evolving patterns in human trafficking. So let me explain what I mean by that. In 2019, we adjusted our storylines to the specificities of the Mediterranean context by including first reception centers and unaccompanied and separated children into the scenarios of the training. In 2021, we adapted our scenarios to the challenges faced in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, including the dramatic rise in online exploitation of children, as well as challenges related to lockdown measures. Currently, and here in Vicenza, we're increasingly incorporating elements of forced criminality where criminals are compelling their victims to engage in increasingly serious criminal behavior, as well as children, which globally have significantly increased among the number of detected trafficking victims. So we're adapting this methodology developed in Vicenza so that we can evolve with the growing trends. Building on the success of the very first simulation held right here in Vicenza, the OSCE has implemented various simulation projects over the past 9 years. And as we like to say, we brought the world to Vicenza for the simulation exercises, and now we're bringing Vicenza to the world with this methodology developed here. So as of today, our numbers pale in comparison to the overall CoESPU numbers, but we have conducted more than 16 national simulation exercises, 4 regional simulations, and 8 international exercises. And with these simulations, we have trained over 800 practitioners from 69 countries. As you can see, the training has gained interest beyond the OSCE region. More and more countries and even regions are expressing interest to replicate the international format at the national or regional level. I would like to personally thank CoESPU, particularly in the person of Brigadier General Giuseppe De Magistris. I'm not sure if I get your name right.
Of course, it's Latin.
Well, thank you for your understanding of my not quite butchering your name, as well as the entire Carabinieri Corps for the ongoing and outstanding partnership and the cooperation, as well as the high impact technical expertise that they always bring to the conduct of these exercises. I shared some numbers, but I really want to say that these simulation-based exercises are more than just numbers on a page. They have proven the real tangible impact in anti-trafficking efforts on the ground and the impact on people's lives. So with that, let me just share 2 examples of this impact that we have achieved. First, Icelandic authorities executed their largest anti-trafficking operation ever in Reykjavik in March 2024, following their attendance at an OSCE simulation exercise in November 2023, just a few months later. And as a result of this one operation, more than 40 victims were identified and removed from a situation of exploitation, and 9 traffickers were arrested and are currently being brought to justice. Just to put this in context, this is more than twice the number of victims that Iceland had identified in the 2 previous years combined in just one exercise. As a testimony of the former trainee of this simulation exercise developed here at CoESPU, the trainee specifically called us to say their operation was successful because they used the methodology that they learned through the simulation exercise with the OSCE. Secondly, shifting to a broader region, part of the OSCE region, 11 Kyrgyz nationals who had been lured by online ads offering high-paying jobs in Thailand and illegally trafficked into Myanmar or Burma, where they were exploited in forced scamming, fastest growing form of human trafficking. They were safely repatriated thanks to regional cooperation between Kyrgyz, Uzbek, and Kazakh authorities fostered during the first Central Asian regional simulation exercise that was held in Astana, Kazakhstan in June 2023. The success of the operation was made possible when an officer from the Academy of Law Enforcement Agencies under the Prosecutor General's Office of Kazakhstan alerted the Kyrgyz National Anti-Trafficking Rapporteur, and they said that the trusted relationships that they knew who to call and what principles they should apply in this were specifically due to the simulation exercise. Again, the methodology developed with CoESPU here in Vicenza. And I'm pleased to share that just earlier this month in June, I attended our 2nd regional Central Asian simulation, and we are very hopeful that we will see continuing tangible results from this methodology. So as these cases show, simulation-based trainings are a powerful tool and one that builds partnerships, again, the core of what CoESPU is all about. They also foster trust and strengthen cooperation. They lay the foundation that help resolve cases in real crisis situations. And again, they have a tangible impact on individual lives. For all of these successes, we thank CoESPU and the entire Carabinieri Corps for your key role in developing this methodology. And let me just close by saying, this is only the beginning. We hope that many more states and practitioners, both across the OSCE region and beyond, will be able to benefit from this invaluable training that we developed here. We're excited about the future, and including the possibility of conducting another regional simulation here in CoESPU in coming months, where the concept was born. So let me end by, again, just thanking with all my heart CoESPU and the Carabinieri Corps for this fantastic partnership that has really brought tangible results. Thank you.
United Nations Police Advisor, Commissioner Faisal Shakar, takes the floor.
Carabinieri Deputy Commandant, respected U.S. Consul General in Milan, CoESPU Commander, the Deputy Commander, all the CoESPU very capable team, I must mention here because we deal with them, representatives of international organizations. I see a galaxy of that here. The public representative, I'm glad to see the mayor and their community support. As well as last but not least, the participants of the female course, which are a real asset for us, for the United Nations. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, all very warm good morning. It's a great pleasure to join you for this conference. The United Nations, and particularly the United Nations Police, have enjoyed a very long and productive partnership with CoESPU. As you know, that the United Nations Police are often among the visible representatives of United Nations bearing blue beret in the countries where we deploy are in most distress and post-conflict or in conflict environments. Over the time, our strength varies between 15,000 to 6,000, depending on the missions that we have. And we have the officers from over 100 countries that contribute on secondment to the United Nations Police. Now, throughout this, our history, the United Nations Police have proven time and again to be essential to multilateral efforts to prevent, mitigate, and resolve violent conflict. And we are the key enabler of Secretary General's Action for Peacekeeping, what we briefly call A4P, as well as A4P+. As the conflicts in the high-risk areas become deadlier and the impacts more widely felt, essential peacekeeping capabilities such as protective infrastructure, communication, situational awareness, mobility platforms, safe equipment, and all the emphasis on the pre-deployment and in-mission training, the technological skills can provide flexibility that empowers the United Nations peacekeeping. Action for Peacekeeping, or A4P, underscores the success of peacekeeping depends on the collective commitment of all stakeholders to better prepare, train, and equip uniformed personnel through the innovative approaches, including stronger partnerships. One of the key pillars of Action for Peacekeeping is improving the safety and security of our brave men and women in uniform. Now, in its fourth iteration, the action plan to improve the security of United Nations peacekeepers continue to structure these efforts. The safety and security I will emphasize because this is impacting the peacekeepers. I'm just coming back from a mission in Central African Republic directly to here, where we lost last day one peacekeeper because of attacks. So we need to prepare our colleagues who go in these missions. That brings us to CoESPU and the partnership that we all are here. Now, to this end, we have discussed emerging practices and lessons during the workshop for the Foreign Police Unit coordinators and trainer, like the ones CoESPU has hosted in Vicenza, and to create mobile training teams comprising United Nations trained and certified trainers for limited deployments to peace operations and emerging police contributing countries. No doubt, strengthening the safety and security of our peacekeepers is closely intertwined with improving the performance and accountability of missions. All peacekeeping operations now have mission plan or comprehensive planning and performance assessment system, what we call CPAS. Results, frameworks in frame, our efforts to enhance joint planning also include ongoing work to strengthen integrated planning, operability among police, military, as well as civilian components wherever we operate. Efforts are also in progress to assess UN police performance against the objectives, norms, and the standards based on strategic guidance framework of international policing and supported by the United Nations Police Training Architecture Program. I would like to point out that CoESPU has been invaluable in the development and continuing implementation of all these initiatives. The UN Police Division and our integrated training service are looking to work with the police training centers of the member states, UN agencies, funds and programs, and the other partner organizations such as CoESPU form a network, whereby the use of existing facilities, personnel, and other resources can be further rationalized to better meet the needs of peace operations in the field at either zero or almost no cost. In this regard, I would be grateful if CoESPU's representatives continue to participate in the meetings of the Light Coordination Mechanism for Police to ensure their cooperation. It is envisaged that the police division and its international counterparts would provide the network with details of the projected numbers and the types of personnel for coming years, and work closely with them to ensure that the right persons are trained on the right things in the required quantities at the right time. This means, number one, personnel will be deployed in line with the specialized roles having been earlier trained and certified. Second, performance can be monitored and evaluated and reported on against transparent, known, and commonly agreed criteria. Three, feedback will become more constructive and relevant. Four, improvements to either guidance and or training can be shared across the entire network of training centers as a system-wide update. The police division is working to align our police recruitment procedures with the new training realities. When all newly deployed forces form in a logical manner the strong basis for the United Nations police training architecture. Ladies and gentlemen, collective effort is required to address the current challenges. As our colleague from US just very inspiring story he just explained. While we remain vigilant of the evolving threats, we must always strive to explore what more can be done by the United Nations, our member states, and the partners to protect peacekeepers in the service of global community. I hope that the outcome of the conference will help advance this important dialogue. Let me conclude by saying that the ongoing support and collaboration of member states and strategic partners like CoESPU is essential to maximizing our individual and collective relevance as well as impact on the ground. I thank you for your patient hearing.
Thank you, sir. It is time now for our keynote speaker, U.S. Consul General Milan. His Excellency Douglas Benning will now take the floor.
Good morning, distinguished guests. It's wonderful to join you as we celebrate the tremendous legacy of the Center for Excellence for Stability Police Units and the alliance between the United States and Italy that has made this possible. I'd like to begin with a very quick personal thank you to Brigadier General Giuseppe De Magistris and Colonel Joe Brule. Giuseppe, Joe, thank you so much for your leadership, for your dedication, for your technical expertise, but most of all for the inspiration that you bring to the important mission of CoESPU. Thank you for inviting me here today. I'd also like to say a special thank you to both the city and the province of Vicenza, to Deputy Mayor Sala, and to Prefetto Romano. Thank you for being here, and thank you for including us in the warm welcome that Vicenza always has to offer. For 70 years, the province and city of Vicenza have been exceptional hosts to the U.S. military and the American community. None of what we celebrate today would be possible without your hospitality, and on behalf of the United States, I thank you for your friendship. I also want to say thank you to United Nations Police Commissioner Faisal Shakar, whose leadership has been crucial to CoESPU fulfilling its charter to train and equip stability police forces for UN missions, particularly in Africa. Thank you for your service and for your sacrifice. And with great emphasis, I want to say thank you to the Arma dei Carabinieri. General Minicucci, thank you for your leadership and for what the Carabinieri do here in Italy and around the world. In addition to your domestic mission, on any given day, more than 1,000 Arma dei Carabinieri serve abroad in more than 50 countries around the world, supporting international missions, protecting Italian embassies, and enabling the important work of international organizations. The Arma dei Carabinieri is truly remarkable. Italy is a leader on the world stage, and the Carabinieri play a role in Italy's contribution to global security in partnership with the United States. And the strength of the US-Italy partnership at CoESPU underscores the durability and the breadth of our relationship writ large. On April 17, President Trump and Prime Minister Maloney met in Washington, D.C., and confirmed their resolve to promote a mutually beneficial relationship and further strengthen the U.S.-Italy strategic alliance across security, economic, and technological issues. The following day, Vice President Vance was warmly welcomed by Prime Minister Maloney in Rome, and Vice President Vance expressed his love for Italian culture and his appreciation for the friendship between our two countries. And the U.S. mission to Italy was very excited to welcome our new ambassador, Tillman Fertitta, to our embassy in Rome. Last week, I had the chance to meet Ambassador Fertitta in Milan at our consulate's Independence Day celebration. So I can say with certainty that he is absolutely dedicated to strengthening U.S.-Italy relations and advancing our mutual strength, security, and prosperity. CoESPU is a significant example of Italy's ability and willingness to lead and promote security at the international level. We're proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with Italy to advance global peace and security. And we're grateful to this country for hosting approximately 30,000 U.S. service members, Departments of Defense civilians, and their family members. You are wonderful and welcoming hosts. Over 20 years, CoESPU has demonstrated what can be achieved when allies come together. CoESPU was born from a shared belief that stability policing is a foundational aspect of establishing and preserving security in unstable and post-conflict environments. The United States and Italy decided to act, and together founded the Center for Excellence for Stability Police Units to expand global capability and capacity for stability policing. For the past 2 decades, that's exactly what CoESPU has done. In partnership with the U.S. Global Peace Operations Initiative, CoESPU has trained almost 16,000 stability police officers from 128 countries and 19 international organizations. But it's not just training. Over the past 20 years, CoESPU has developed into a global thought leader for stability operations, shaping concept development and stability policing doctrine of the United Nations, NATO, the European Union, the Office of Security Cooperation in Europe, which we just heard about, fantastic, the African Union, and even the United States Army. And it is difficult to teach the United States Army anything. So congratulations. So it's no surprise today, around the world, CoESPU's facility and staff are sought after as respected experts, training and advising police forces in Europe, Australia, South America, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. It's no exaggeration to say that the impact of the United States partnership with the Arma dei Carabinieri has been felt in every corner of the world. I understand, of course, that one of your mottos is stronger together. The United States and Italy are indeed and will continue to be stronger together. Congratulations on 20 years of excellence, CoESPU. Thank you very much.
Now will be projected a video message from the United Nations Under-Secretary General for Peace Operations, Mr. Jean-Pierre Lacroix.
It's a pleasure to mark the 20th anniversary of the Center of Excellence for Stability Police Units, or CoESPU, and to celebrate a partnership that has made a real difference in United Nations peacekeeping. Since our formal collaboration began in 2010, CoESPU has remained a trusted and dedicated partner to the Department of Peace Operations, and particularly to the United Nations Police. Together, we have worked to ensure that formed police units in UN peace operations are better trained, better prepared, and ready to meet the growing demands of peacekeeping in today's complex environments. One standout example is the UN Certified Instructor Development course hosted at CoESPU last year that involved 66 police contributing countries. This initiative helped train and certify 260 instructors, many of them women, ensuring that future peacekeepers are equipped with the right knowledge and skills even before they deploy. But our partnership goes beyond training. It reflects the shared commitment to innovation, professionalism, and multilateral cooperation. Through the Secretary General's Action for Peacekeeping initiative, we are working together to improve the safety, performance, and impact of those serving on the ground. CoESPU plays a critical role in that effort, helping us deliver the specialized training and support that keep our personnel out of harm's way while they protect civilians. We also value CoESPU's continued contribution to broader platforms such as the Light Coordination Mechanism, which connects police contributing countries with the training and support they need to meet UN standards. In a time of growing global challenges, partnerships like this are more important than ever. Conflict dynamics are evolving rapidly, humanitarian needs are growing, and resources are under strain. That is why peacekeeping remains not only essential, but also remarkably cost-effective. It is one of the most efficient tools the international community has to promote stability, prevent the resurgence of violence, and support communities on the path to peace. As we look to the future of peacekeeping, our shared goal remains clear: to build stronger, more adaptable operations that can respond effectively to emerging threats, whether from conflict, climate pressures, or other crises. CoESPU's dedication over the past 2 decades has helped strengthen the foundation of UN policing and has enabled us to serve communities in need more effectively. As we move forward, I have full confidence that our collaboration will continue to drive innovation, enhance safety, and support peacekeepers as they work in some of the most challenging environments on Earth. Congratulations on this significant milestone, and thank you for your continued commitment to peace and security.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now invited to join us for a family picture in the parade square. Please, after the photo, you are invited to enjoy a coffee break in the ballroom. The closing conference event will resume at 10:45. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take a seat. Be so kind. Thank you so much. We are resuming now. Seconda iniziativa.
Posso? Okay.
Thank you so much. So we are ready now for the second part. Yes, some of the authorities left, so fill the other seats. Okay, Alessandro, let's go.
Now we will start listening International Conference on Policing Approaches to Human Security outcome from our 4 working groups that are: the number 1 is political and personal security, number 2, community security, number 3, environmental security, number 4, technological security. Dr. Thomas Mathieu, working group number 1 moderator, will now deliver his remarks. Please, sir.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation to share Panel 1's findings and recommendations. Allow me at this point, I'm an academic, and I'm very jealous of my 7 minutes. So kindly allow me to say welcome, honored guests. And thank you very much, General Magistris and all of CoESPU for convening this incredibly important session on combating trafficking in human beings. I would be remiss at this point if I did not recognize an incredible group of folks that I had the opportunity to work with. I have the privilege of standing before you and sharing our findings. However, I do want to recognize Christine Cole, who was a panelist who was not able to be here with us today. She had to fly back. Colonel Jay Liddick, and of course, Lieutenant Colonel Marco Sato. And also would like to thank Biagio, an absolutely incredible intern who helped us put all these things together. I would like to spend a few minutes contextualizing exactly what we looked at so that our recommendations, our 3 to 4 recommendations, may be anchored to something. First off, we looked at personal and political dimensions of trafficking in human beings and how to integrate all of human security domains to eliminate the practice. One of the areas we looked at when we talk about trafficking in human beings is at what level are we discussing this? At the policy, the strategic, the operational, or the tactical level? And recognizing that trafficking in human beings looks different at every one of those levels, and that the best policy, if not operationalized at the tactical level, will have little impact. Also, excellent work being done at the tactical level that does not percolate upward and influence policy will also be of limited value. So over the 2 days that we were here, many of you were participants and helped us contribute to the identification of these actionable recommendations. In our group, our 4 groups, one of the things we looked at as well was that they needed to be immediately actionable, and not tomorrow morning, but something that people could immediately put into context and to work. I was jumped at the chance, and Colonel Brule said, we're looking for someone who will help us disrupt and think out of the box. And I immediately was on the Delta website getting an airplane flight here because I think that is the kind of thinking that we need to have immediately. So we identified the problem of trafficking in human beings as a wicked problem, one that does not necessarily have a definable end state. And this allows us to look at the trafficking in human beings as a living organism that evolves and adapts to whatever we do as it permeates all of society, up, down, and across. We recognized also that human security and trafficking in human beings is something that goes together, that all 7 dimensions, domains outlined by the United Nations influence and adapt to each other. Our major outcome, and I'll speak to that a little bit more as we go along, is that we need a specialized multi-agency anti-trafficking entities that are proactive in addressing trafficking in human beings and disrupts the status quo approaches that have yielded success, albeit marginal, and that they need to be context-driven, and that there is no universal template that can be applied to human trafficking. It needs to be context-driven, and I will talk a bit more about that in the next few minutes in something I call the medical model. So we're looking at policy, strategy, operations, and tactical approaches to combating human trafficking simultaneously up, down, and across the social structure. We talked about how the bottom-up and top-down approaches need to be conducted simultaneously. There needs to be a greater focus and acceptance of what is doing at the tactical level. We need to collect that information of what is already working on the ground. What are people in local communities and villages already doing to combat human trafficking? We also talked about it being context-driven, again, no universal templates. And we talked about the necessity for looking at what we call the medical model and how to train individuals involved in anti-traffic in doing three things that any good physician of the social body does, and that is they make a diagnosis, they make a prognosis, and they apply a therapy. And if that therapy is working, they reinforce it. And if that therapy is not working, they go back and make another diagnosis, another prognosis, and apply another therapy. And this disrupts the patterns of human trafficking, or at least has the potential to do so. And in this way, we allow the pathology of human trafficking to drive our interventions. We don't start with an answer and then go look for a problem to solve with it. We go and we recognize the pathology and we trust it to guide our intervention. And this means that we need to look at things differently everywhere, and that we need, there's a need for this multi-agency approach. And for those of you who are in the medical field, I ask you to think of the tumor board. When an individual has cancer, all the physicians in the hospital come together to the tumor board to assist in coming together with a holistic application treatment plan for that patient. Not just the oncologist, but the oncologist, the physical therapist, the breathing people, everyone is in the room, because we need to develop whole of society approaches. Stability policing professionals alone cannot in any way take this task on alone. I believe that the best stability policing professionals can do is lead the effort and be the coordinating agency to bring this whole of society effort together. And again, as I said, I'm an academic, so I'm going to ask for your patience, because someone tells me 7 minutes and I say, you said 17. But no. So now we did come up with 4 very direct and actionable objectives that I'd like to share with you. First is to enhance the awareness and responsiveness. Stability police should focus on improving their awareness and responsiveness to trafficking in human being cases. And this involves training and coordination to foster a proactive attitude among law enforcement and supporting institutions. One of the things we did find out in our discussions is that part of the frustration on the behalf of stability policing professionals is they feel they are constantly in a reactive mode. And so how do we reframe that and move stability policing professionals into the proactive mode? And this is what I mean with this convening authority of this conference, as well as being the coordinating activity in anti-trafficking efforts. This also spoke to the frustration that some people feel in making advances in policy and strategy, but not making as many advances in operations and tactics. We saw this mirrored in women, peace, and security, where we made great good efforts at policy and strategy levels, but made, unfortunately, maybe not so good an effort at the tactical grassroots level. Develop legal frameworks and SOPs. Stability police should work on developing national legal frameworks, policies, and standard operating procedures that enable law enforcement and institutions to detect and care for trafficked persons. This includes creating tactical procedures for trafficking human being detection and care. So again, giving that toolkit to actors on the ground, not just stability policing actors, but that whole of society. All of those actors would have the same toolkit that allows them to identify traffickers, human trafficking, as well as now, what do I do about it? Third is to create and train specialized entities. Stability police should establish, train, and employ specialized multi-agency anti-trafficking entities, and these entities will take a proactive, disruptive, and coordinated approach to combat human trafficking. And as a mental model, I encourage you to think in that regard as the medical model coming together. This is that whole of society approach that creates a network. And I dread using the term, so I apologize ahead of time, of subject matter experts that can be surged into that tumor to go after that cancer in the social body. And instead of medical professionals, we have police, finance, social workers, educators, media, and some people in our group also suggested former traffickers as well to assist in that surge there. They can be mobilized in a moment's notice. We have people who do all kinds of emergency management. We should put together a like organization that can surge within 24 hours and be on the ground disrupting traffickers. We need to think a task force approach, as Colonel Liddick alluded to. We should look at contextual responses that follow that medical model, recognizing that our goal is to treat the social body. If we are successful in treating in one regard, but we don't develop a wellness plan, then we're going to see that same cancer pop up somewhere else. So, lastly, in my 7 minutes, we did say we should think about human beings at least as seriously as we think about dolphins. Any of you in this room, I know, have been in the grocery store. You cannot buy a can of tuna without seeing a dolphin-safe tuna logo on the can that says this dolphin was captured and caught and put in the can without whatever. The issue is, I think, if we think way outside the box, General, is maybe the Carabinieri should put together a anti-trafficking stamp that goes on products and services that says this has been investigated and we can guarantee you that slave labor and trafficked individuals were not involved in the production of these goods and services. So with that, I will conclude, and I apologize again if I went over, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Karen Finkenbinder, Working Group Number 2 moderator, will now take the floor.
Good morning, and let me echo Tom in recognizing our distinguished guest, all protocols observed. And I too am humbled to be here and represent my team, which included Mr. Philippe Lacroix-Martin and Andrew Carpenter, as well as our Carabinieri supporters. So for those that have not worked a lot with the Carabinieri, I will tell you from my perspective, they're rock stars. Because I do come out of the policing world. So we looked at community security. I understand I have a clicker here. Me and technology could be an issue. So let's see. Okay. So let me just, this was our mandate. We had to look for practical strategies. So things that are feasible, and you can read, identify best practices in stability policing based on existing models, approaches, develop strategies to improve stability policing approaches, and identify ways to adapt. But I want to say up front that because of the excellent folks in our working groups, their contributions, as well as my esteemed colleagues, I think we did think outside the box. Not that I like that term, but we did. And I think what we developed can be used anywhere. So it's not just about a particular place, like let's say post-conflict Ukraine, but it could be used anywhere. It can be adapted. So the first, and the other thing we did was we looked at it through these buckets. So we put what our recommendations are into 3 buckets: training and education, structural changes, and then the tools that we might be able to develop. So let me qualify this first by saying community security is somewhat like community-oriented policing. It's not something you do to the community, it's something you do with the community. So we came up front, we said we have got to get civil society involved. And it has to be those actors that are in the place that we're going to. Where are we intervening? Who's there? And it can't be like the US penchant, find the English speakers. It's got to be people that actually represent their communities. So it might be multiple people in the community. So we looked at developing a self-organized community security coordination mechanism. And in training and education, what could that look like? Perhaps there's a way for CoESPU to create training for community security, to bring in civilian actors so that they too are thinking ahead about what community security looks like and that they are available for when we do have to go in. And these are things you can do ahead of time. You don't have to wait and be reactive. We looked at civil society actors in conducting local community security assessments, monitoring and evaluation. So how can we teach community actors, in addition to ourselves, in addition to stability policing, being able to conduct assessments and to identify needs and to be able to share those with the intervening stability police? We looked at, I call it mapping who's who in the zoo, but stakeholder methodologies. But that's not just mapping who's there, which we know those that have worked in UN operations or other international operations know there's a lot of people in the zoo and we don't control most of them. But it's also about developing engagement strategies, countering disinformation, dealing with the diaspora, dealing with people that might be tagged as collaborators. All of these, we need engagement strategies and to think through with the community about how we're going to handle that. Another recommendation was the Strategic Guidance Framework certification. So for some of you, I may need to just give a brief description. The security, we have our UN Police Commissioner who's intimately familiar with this, but the Strategic Guidance Framework was a UN-led, not UN for UN only, but UN-led process to develop a bronze standard for police. So if I use the state where I last policed in the US, Pennsylvania, we had over 1,200 departments. We had 21 police academies. If we adopted the SGF as a bronze standard, we would have a standardized training program, and then we could build upon that. So we could be better than the bronze standard. We could have a gold or a silver standard, but at least we would have the bronze standard. Right now, so we have a standard, a CALIA standard, but if we had something like this, that internationally, all of our stability police met at least some of the community-oriented policing, the ability to assess under this standard, then we are all coming in with the same knowledge base. Because it isn't just the stability police that go in under NATO, it's OSCE, it's EU, it's other actors, it's US Army, whatever, but it's other actors. So if we can stop being proprietary and start thinking one general basic bronze standard, then that would really help in how we communicate with each other in these environments. We need training and education and reconciliation models. How do you reconcile the different people, the diaspora, the collaborators, so what are these models? We need this training for not just the stability police. I realize there is some there already, but for the community, because they are the key to reconciliation. And then lastly, conflict analysis. How do you identify the drivers of conflict? We need that for community actors and for the stability police. Structure. We recommend a civil society advisory board. That could be done, that could actually be established and could work before the intervention force comes in. And again, it can't just be the people we feel comfortable for, got to be representative. The specialized units, SGF certified, and then embedded community advisors in planning and execution. usually what has happened in the past is there's a plan created, and then I know, at least in US Army efforts, a plan was created not necessarily by the experts, and then they would bring in somebody and say, look at our plan, what does this look like? The problem with that kind of planning is it comes in with preconceived notions and does not account for the expertise that exists in the police, because the police are not military light. They think with a blue lens, and that's different from military. And I've done both, and I can tell you the thinking's different. So, embedded community advisors. And then lastly, some of the tools we can create. And this I think I'm most excited about. So maybe there's a way, and I'm just going to focus on the dashboard because I think you can put all of this in there. Create a dashboard that's a repository of all the relevant knowledge and tools that actually has in it the ability to do local community surveys, how to do focus groups, that we could have an internal database of trusted civil society partners, not something we share outside the Stability Police, because we know where that can lead, but that we ourselves have trusted community advisors. Right now, if I bring in a speaker to my current organization, which will remain nameless because I'm here on leave because civilians can't travel in the US right now, I put it through the US Embassy team because I don't want to bring somebody in that is not beneficial to what our embassy wants us to promote in their country, because that's the ambassador that controls that. We want to make sure that the people that we are using are actually trusted partners, trusted advisors. And then lastly, we looked at exchanging and embedding programs. So for example, let's say we have, and I'll use the Carabinieri, realizing we have a lot more GTF out there that might be doing this, gendarmerie type forces. Let's say we have Carabinieri X guy exchange with, let's say we're going into Ukraine, with the Ukrainian ahead of time. They're both developing knowledge that's going to be used on the ground, and they're starting their advising before they even get there. And so, and then once we are inside whatever this environment looks like, then we embed. And so these are the kinds of things we can do stuff ahead of time to start building the trust that we need to enhance community security, to set us up for success once we get there. And so I think that, did I miss anything? We're good? Okay, thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Matti Leetonen, Working Group Number 3 moderator, takes the floor.
Thank you very much. All protocols observed. And then I also, like my fellow panel leaders here, moderators here, want to start by thanking a wonderful panel we had together with Colonel Cristina Avanzo, Dennis Mangol, and we are very grateful to Marina for being always there to also actively participate, and Giovanni, without whom we wouldn't have the presentation here, and otherwise support. I'm also very grateful to Colonel Brule. We had an excellent lead in organizing, getting us organized, and I am very, very honored and proud of being part of this exercise. Thank you for including environmental security as a topic, and it did create very passionate and disruptive discussions. And I am particularly grateful to the students, the university participants for their part in it. I'm also very, very personally learned a lot from the field realities from other participants, and we had fantastic conversations. I will first do as others have started with so the outcomes are very similar as other panels. We have too many slides. I will skip some of them. But like other panels, just to frame and put you into a little bit of perspective on the substantive issues, that environment is just not necessarily just a nuisance. but it can be linked to natural resource rents that are connected to power structures, connected to organized crime. We talked a lot about environmental crime. So understanding these issues, understanding if the environment, which is not just tree hugging, which is also about that tree has an economic value and there is an interest to cut it down and sell it, to understand if that does have a role in the particular context in driving security or insecurity. Going a little bit further from that, there's an interest from the policing perspective to define actionable problems that you address, but there's also an interest in awareness from the awareness point of view to understand that traditional livelihoods, the licit, the normal work is also possible, and whether there are challenges, for example, by climate change, whether there are risks to those livelihoods, because these things do influence the possibilities of recruitment to illicit activities. But secondly, and we have it here on the slide as well, we need to work with existing legal frameworks, and it is about understanding what's in place and what is not in place. So understanding the environmental conventions, but also if there are gaps and work is needed in other fields than policing, it would be important to understand that. So these are identifying priority gaps, and the political economy analysis is what I started with. And additionally, it was about environment, so it's also a question of being aware of your own footprint. If you're deployed in Kidal, northern Mali, and even the population struggles with water, you have to be aware of if you are coming there to share that same water resource. And there has been a lot of improved tools for this lately. Enhance, we talked about different types of training, basic training. Not everybody needs to be an expert, but then also more specialized training and linked training. Lots of it is connected to following the money, and there were very interesting conversations about how crypto is also changing the kinds of specialized skills you need. There were practical tools that we developed, and I would like to focus a little bit on the concrete recommendations. We went for very actionable recommendations in our panel. And one interesting, I heard already the women's participation came out, which is not surprising at all, and also in the field of environment. The fact that there have been good advances in women's participation in stability policing has two different interests for us. One is that when you bring women business security, women actually are better, more nuanced in understanding clean water, clean air, not only the commodity side of natural resources. So there's already existing synergies. But secondly, we should also learn about how that was possible, how the success of enhancing women's participation is an example for bringing also other types of fields, such as environment and climate. And one of the suggestions from the conversations was that it not only leads those policies and declarations, they are there, but it needs that leadership from senior leaders. Expertise is out there. Not every single police officer needs to be an expert on environment. The question is, how do you get to that specific expertise? And we had very good practical cases on experts on call. You have somebody you know who to call when you have a quick need or that you need background information. The environmental climate risk analysis should be something that you get pre-deployment, you understand the context where you're working and link to the first part that I was talking about. Then very practical tool as well. We had inspiration from the electoral side, and that you can have very easy to use forms or even apps where you have checklists. Was there a flood? Does the community have water? And the interest in this is that if you, for example, add a tag in your existing incident reporting, the mission starts aggregating and accumulating this information, and then you might find patterns when that information is accumulated. And I know that in the peacekeeping world, this has worked. There have been good experiences on adding tags in the system of incident reports. So adding things like flooding or destroyed crops, and then you have a security incident. And then finally, we realized that these things do need sustainable financial and institutional resources. So that's a cross-cutting recommendation that just brings us to reality that I would like to close with. And I thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
And now, Major Wayne Culbreth, Working Group Number 4, moderator, will now deliver his remarks. Please.
Good morning. Thank you to our distinguished guests and conference participants, and I would like to thank my panel participants and members as well, Mark Peterson, Professor Conti, who couldn't be here this morning, Dr. Cavacine, Colonel DeFalco, our interns, Matilda and Carlotta. Thank you for all your help in getting this going. So for the technology panel, we really focused in on artificial intelligence. Really as the transformative technology of our day, dominates the headlines, dominates the media, starting to dominate our lives and work experiences. So we did some drill down into this area. And I want to start off by covering really the lessons we learned about AI as it applies to policing and things that we need to understand that led us into the recommendations of our panel. So first off, I think it's important to grasp that AI can feel like magic. If you've interacted with it directly, you've seen this, you've seen the media reports. At the end of the day, it's just data. It's data, it's numbers, it's math at its roots, which means we can put parameters around how we use that data, how we implement that data, how we control that data. It gets into this idea of computational imagination, which is where all of these great things from generative AI comes from. But when you have that computational imagination, it also introduces this idea of hallucination, where AI can just be wrong. Fundamentally, everything that AI does for us is based off a set of probabilities and math. And so any probability can often lead to error. So we have to understand what those errors look like, how they manifest when we're utilizing AI. And so what does that mean for us in terms of the parameters we need to put around how we implement these systems? So there's some trustworthiness in there, but there's a bit of a black box. In that when AI does an analysis on a live video stream or audio or whatever data it's looking at, sometimes we don't know why AI makes the decisions that it does. Its process that it goes through, the vector math behind the scenes, is not discoverable for us. So that provides some precarious situations for us when we need to have accountability in our decision making. If we start using AI to make decisions for us, what does that mean? So the broader theme that we had is, where does the human fit into the decision-making loop of AI? And what are the fundamental organizing principles that we need to have around how we utilize these tools? And for us, probably the biggest organizing principle was this idea of commander's intent. So we can task an AI to do something, just like we can task in the military, can task a soldier on a task, or a police unit, we can give an officer a task. But if we just give the do this thing without the broader context, that can lead to problems. And it's the same thing in artificial intelligence. So we approached our organizing principle of implementing commander's intent on top of how we implement artificial intelligence systems. And that's not just giving a task, but identifying the task, the purpose, and the end state desired. And when you get into kind of the academics of AI and some of the best practices that are coming out with actual implementations of large language models in our workplace, we get to this idea of prompt engineering, which states, here's what you need to give an AI. You need to give it the task. You need to give it the role that it's supposed to operate in. You need to give it what the desired outcome should look like, and then give it context. And so when we draw those parallels to language that we understand in uniform, that really looks a lot like commander's intent of task, purpose, and end state. And so it was with those fundamental organizing principles that we got to our recommendations. We'll just kind of talk through these quickly. And we, like the other panels, we really wanted to focus on practical recommendations that can be implemented today. And I would say the other lens that we took this approach on AI, we stayed away from being prescriptive on how to utilize AI specifically, and stayed away from the tasks that we want AI to do, because the capabilities with AI are changing so fast. By the time we solidify these recommendations, what AI can do by the end of the day will be different than what it could do this morning. So we're really focused on the process of taking these AI systems and how do we implement them into the workflows of our organizations and our formations. I think one of the number one pieces of recommendation that we have is there needs to be a human in the loop, an automated decision-making, and that person needs to be identified. And we took examples of, on the military side, of this idea of reducing the kill chain, of where we can take surveillance video, we can analyze what's in that video. If it's a vehicle formation that we wanted to target with fires, we can then generate a call for fire mission, send that directly to a firing battery, and execute a fire mission with 0 humans in the loop, if we wanted to do that. But when we're looking at processes, we have to ask ourselves, what decisions are we willing to give to AI? What decisions are we going to require a human to be in the loop on? And so as we implement these artificial intelligence systems into our workflow processes, we need to be very deliberate and clear of what decisions we will allow AI to make on our behalf, and what decisions require a human gate to approve that decision. And going beyond just identifying those decisions, we need to identify by SOP and directive who is the responsible party to give the go, no-go on that decisions, and how does that work? And most importantly, those decisions need to be hard-coded into the platform before we implement. And so a lot of these recommendations we kind of took from the lens of, as we are procuring artificial intelligence systems to bring into our organizations, these are the things we must demand from the vendors providing those systems. The second one here, classify every predictive policing model as a high-risk tool. We took an example from the Chicago Police Department. It's actually been about 10 years ago, implemented one of the first predictive policing tools, where they developed a system called the Strategic Subjects List. And they took an algorithm and gave a score from 0 to 500 on individuals in Chicago neighborhoods, taking their age, their prior convictions, their known associates into consideration to rank them as to how likely they are to commit gun violence. And so that system was implemented with no further direction than just let's create a score. So what happened is when patrol officers received this list of subjects, they took the high scored ones and they showed up at their houses, they knocked on the door, and they started interrogating these individuals with no crime, no suspicion of a crime. It was just the natural officer reaction to identifying a high-risk subject. And so in that instance, the predictive policing model actually caused more problems in those communities than it solved. And so we take that back to this idea of commander's intent. There was not a clear end state defined. There was not a purpose defined. It was just a task. And so anytime we look at these predictive policing models, we need to clearly define what the end state is, and then we have some specific recommendations on if we're going to have predictive policing, we need to look at public registration, transparency on utilizing those tools. One of the third recommendation here, run continuous tiered training that pairs AI tools with manual techniques. And this was a recurring topic of conversation in all four of the panel sessions from the audience participants, that there is a possibility as we start leaning on artificial intelligence to do analysis and make decisions, do we run the risk of losing in our officers and our soldiers the capability to do those analytical tasks themselves? It's just when we parallel it to the military idea of are we so dependent on GPS that if we lose that asset, can we continue to navigate? And this is a real risk. And just last week, MIT released a paper on the impact of using ChatGPT for analysis and task, and compared it to those using just traditional IT tools like Google versus no technology tools at all. And they found a significant degradation in the ability to continue to do those tasks, and gave it a very creative name called metacognitive laziness that can come from over reliance on artificial intelligence tools. So we see this as an issue we need to understand before we start relying on these tools, to the extent that we keep our formations capable in doing these analytical tasks that we're trying to rely on AI on. Last two, and this kind of goes into the same thing, is we need to start thinking about building an internal cadre that understand these systems, that are the technical experts, that understand the limits of the models, that understand the risks of the models that we're implementing, and the ability to understand an audit log. And that kind of ties into our last recommendation on these systems. And again, this is a procurement recommendation that we integrate lifecycle bias mitigation and audit logs into every procurement contract. And this idea of bias in AI models was another big topic of discussion among the participants. And thanks everyone for a very lively discussion on all these panels. Because AI is based on data, it makes decisions based on the data that it has and that it's had exposure to. And that can introduce the potential for bias, because a lot of what AI has been trained on is what has been found on the internet. And often the internet can be a crazy place and can seed some invalid ideas. So we have to understand how that bias can impact decisions that we're making in policing operations. And then this last point on this particular recommendation is having an audit log in every decision-making platform. And I think what you'll find in the procurement cycle, as vendors are invariably chasing the gold rush of AI and want to sell your organizations all kinds of systems, they are going to focus on the bright, shiny objects, the interesting things that AI can do for you and make decisions easier. What we have to demand is that as those decisions are made, there needs to be an audit log of every decision that AI makes and why it's made it. And that has to be built into the system level. And we have to demand that from the vendors that are providing these. And so the last one that's really kind of the next step in all this is we make a strong recommendation to continue this conversation specifically about these AI recommendations at the IAPTC conference that's being held here in November. Kind of take this initial starting point of recommendations for AI, stress test them, knock them around. Let's get this in a policy document that we can then start training our organizations on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The Carabinieri Deputy Commanding General, Lieutenant General Marco Minicucci, will now deliver his closing remarks. Please, sir.
Distinguished authorities and guests, I would like to close this important event by a brief speech in line with the previous intervents, and by expressing my sincere thanks to all the speakers and the experts who have contributed to the 4 thematic panels. The quality of the presentation, the broad-based approach, and the richness of the discussion have given us valuable input for the future activities of CoESPU and confirm its role as a stability policing international hub. A special thank you to the international partners who have supported our center over the years. First of all, the United States of America, whose continuous support through GPI funds has made many training and cooperation activities possible. I also warmly thank France for contributing to CoESPU's mission through the presence of a Gendarmerie national officer working within the center. And I extend my gratitude to the United Nations, with whom we maintain a strong and productive cooperation, essential for promoting the concept of stability policing in today's international mission. In these 20 years, CoESPU has proven to be not only a training center, but also a global player in building peace and security, a role that is especially important in today's global context, marked by instability and fragile international balances, as the very recent events of these days have shown. Looking ahead, we must continue to grow, face new challenges, and consolidate the network of partnership. That is the real key to our success. With the spirit of commitment and confidence in building a better future, I hereby declare the CoESPU's 20th anniversary conference officially closed. Thank you all for your participation.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the International Conference on the Policing Approaching to Human Security. Please rise and join me in a round of applause for the authorities that will leave the hall and also for ourselves.